Welcome back. Now, news of the sensational prison escape of the murderer and Facebook rapist Thabo Bester, assisted by his lover, Dr. Nandipha, shocked South Africa. Now, in the book, The Thabo Story, Marecia Damons and Steyn, the journalists who first exposed the scam, tell the full story from Thabo and Nandipha's life stories and their unlikely love affair, all the way to his faked death and their eventful arrest in disguise in Tanzania. Marecia Damons joins us now virtually to share more on the book. Very good morning to you, Marecia. Thank you so much for joining us. Welcome to Morning Live.
Hi, Simpiwe. Thank you so much for having me.
It's an absolute pleasure. Now, with so much happening around the case, when did you start working on the book?
So it was actually about 2 or 3 weeks after we had broken the story when we got a couple of offers to publish this book. And we officially started researching in about early April. So it's been a hectic couple of months of us trying to research and speak to people in order to publish this book by October.
Who are some of the people that you spoke to?
So I don't want to give away too much,
Yep.
but there are some exclusive interviews in the book with people who personally knew Thabo Bester and Nandipha. And I think that those interviews are going to help paint a picture of who Bester and Magudumana are, the nature of their relationship, and just, I guess, shed light on some of the many unanswered questions.
Yeah, I did mention in the intro, I gave a preview of this book. So just give us a full synopsis of what the book is all about. Of course, not giving away too much.
So the book obviously focuses on the prison escape, but it also takes a deeper look into the events that happened prior to it. We also take a deeper dive into Bester and Magudumana's relationship. There have been indications that the nature of their relationship was somewhat toxic. There were reports of abuse as well. So we do try to hypothesize that in the story. And we also take a look at the crimes that, or rather the scams that Bester and Magudumana were involved in. And like I said, it includes exclusive interviews with people who personally knew the both of them. But we also look at the stories of the victims, because given that the story is very sensationalized, the stories of the victims have been somewhat forgotten in the midst of it. So that's also what we focus on in the book. But one of the main themes that also comes through is the clear failure of the state, because had they acted sooner, this would not have been a story at all.
And among his many victims, of course, is Nomfundo, and you delve deeper into the relationship of Nomfundo with Thabo Bester, which started with a lie and ended in her murder. Just take us through that.
Yes, so Bester and Nomfundo reportedly met in 2011, quite early in January. And initially, what came out of the court case is that Bester tried to frame it as if they were these lovers, and after speaking for a couple of months, they then came to Cape Town. But what's very evident from the nature of the relationship is that he may very well have also scammed her and promised her modeling opportunities, because that did seem to be his modus operandi at the time. And unfortunately, it resulted in her death, and it was a very violent death that she suffered. I mean, she was stabbed to death, and it was a very unfortunate end that Nomfundo met. So that's why we wanted to just remind the public and also the readers of this very horrific event that took place, but one that Bester ended up being convicted for.
And I suppose one of the most prominent stars in this Thabo Bester charade is Dr. Nandipha. So how does she come into the picture? How do they meet?
So I think that those are one of the many unanswered questions about the nature of their relationship, specifically how and where they met. What we do know is that when Bester, or rather when Magudumana tried to claim Bester's body, she indicated that they had met back in 2006, but that is highly unlikely. So we have spoken to family members of Magudumana just to sort of piece together and try and figure out exactly when and where they met. But I do think that that the exact time frame may never be answered. But we do hope that it may come up, or that it may come out in the court case.
And I suppose that that's what makes the story even more interesting, the fact that you've had conversations with both sides of the family, that's Nandipha Magudumana and Thabo Bester's family. So what came out of those conversations? Did they paint a picture of what kind of person Dr. Nandipha Magudumana was, I mean, leading to her doing what she did?
So from the interviews that we have had and from what we've tried to piece together, it is very likely that she too may have been scammed in the initial stages, and perhaps she was in too deep and decided to just go through with it. Because it does seem quite strange that someone of Magudumana's stature would leave it all, I guess, for a prisoner and a convicted rapist and murderer at that. So there is this suggestion that perhaps she too was scammed. But we also do look into Bester's upbringing, and it does seem as if he has had somewhat of a challenging upbringing. Not that that excuses the crimes that he committed, but it does help to paint a better picture of who Bester is and just maybe how his childhood could have contributed to who he ended up becoming.
And we did mention that the case is still ongoing. Are you working on a possible sequel?
I think anything is possible at this stage. It's also possible that this case is going to carry on for the bigger part of next year, maybe moving into 2025. And it's going to be interesting to see the information that comes out. I do know one of the main questions that many people do have is, where is Bester getting the money from to pay these lawyers? So yeah, anything is possible in terms of a possible sequel.
And I do understand that Thabo Bester's lawyers tried to stop the book from being released. What happened to that?
Yeah, so about a week or two ago, we received, well, us as the authors and the publishing house, NB Publishers, and a couple of other booksellers received a letter of demand from Bester and Nandipha's attorneys, where they asked for a digital copy of the book by a certain date, and they said if we didn't give them a soft copy, they would lodge an urgent court application to prevent the book from being published. But of course, the book ended up being published in any case, and it is now available in bookstores. So since receiving that letter of demand, we haven't heard anything yet from their lawyers.
All right, Marecia, great chatting to you. Thank you so much for joining us. Well, Marecia Damons and Daniel Steyn co-authored the book titled The Thabo Bester Story. Now, the book delves into a high-profile and sensational case involving Thabo Bester.